On the slopes of Mount Scott, I came looking for cemetery stories. What I found was Abraham Lincoln hidden in stained glass on the top floor of a mausoleum. I found a Civil War veteran whose story reaches back to the capture of John Wilkes Booth. I found a photographer remembered only by a signature. I found a familiar Oregon name resting above the city. And across the road, Memorial Day flags covered the hillside. My name is Aaron, and this is Stories in Stone. The last time I came here, these halls were full of artists. Tables lined the mausoleum corridors. People moved between handmade prints, candles, mystery boxes, and that spooky charm Portland conjures so well. But when I returned to film Lincoln Memorial Park itself, the mausoleum had gone quiet again. The voices were gone. The halls had returned to marble, water, names, and light. Outside, the cemetery stretched across the hillside in the late spring sun. The rain was waiting just beyond the weekend. Because of course it was. This is Portland. And everywhere, there were signs that Memorial Day was near. Lincoln Memorial Park was calm that day. Not empty, but quiet. A flag here, fresh flowers there, staff preparing for families who would soon arrive to remember someone they loved. That timing shaped this visit. This was not the holiday itself yet, but the cemetery already seemed to be holding its breath. Lincoln Memorial Park does not feel like one single place. It moves in sections, climbing and dipping with the slopes of Mount Scott. Some areas are open and sunny, others feel tucked away beneath trees. Roads curve through the grounds, and every turn seems to change the view. It feels layered. A hillside full of different kinds of memory. Before this place was Lincoln Memorial Park, it was Mount Scott Park Cemetery. Founded in 1906, it grew across these slopes as Portland expanded around it. In 1926, the Mausoleum was built. That same year, the cemetery officially took the Lincoln name. The Lincoln name is commonly understood here as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln. And while I still wanted further documentation, the connection kept appearing as I explored. But not all at once. A staff member's direction, a grave inscription, a stained glass window hidden high inside the mausoleum, the day began to feel less like a straight path and more like a trail of clues. The first one I found was not written in dates, it was signed. Near the beginning of my walk, I found the grave of Benjamin A. Gifford. At first, it almost did not look like a grave at all. There were no dates facing outward, no long inscription, no list of accomplishments. Just one name, Gifford, carved like a signature. That choice feels perfect, because Benjamin Gifford was a photographer. From the late 1880s until his retirement in 1920, Gifford photographed Oregon, the Columbia River, Mount Hood, Portland, and the wider Northwest. His images helped preserve the look of a region still becoming itself. His grave marker echoes the stylized signature he used in his published photographs. One final autograph, in stone. Gifford lived in a time when photography required patience and intention. You had to choose what mattered enough to preserve. Cemeteries do something similar. A photograph says, "This place was here." A grave says, "This person was here." Standing there with my own camera, filming his name as the sunlight washed over his grave, I felt the connection more than I expected. Filming cannot stop time, but it can ask us to slow down and notice what time is carrying away. From Gifford's grave, I followed the cemetery roads deeper into the grounds. The landscape opened up near City View Estates in Emory Circle. A large American flag moved in the wind. Below it, the city stretched into the distance. Nearby, I found the grave of Bob and Charlee Moore. For many people in Oregon, Bob Moore is familiar before he's historical. The white beard, the red vest, the kind eyes printed on the bags of flour, oats, and grains. Bob and Charlee Moore founded Bob's Red Mill, one of Oregon's most recognizable food companies. Their story belongs to business history, but it also belongs somewhere warmer. On kitchen shelves, breakfast tables, weekend pancakes, and bread dough rising on a counter. In a different kind of legacy, part of family recipes and small rituals that make a place feel like home. After that, I kept moving through the grounds. I paused near Lakeside Gardens, where small memorials looked out across the reservoir, and the fountain sent ripples through the sunlight. Then I continued towards the funeral home, hoping someone there might help me find one grave in particular, Emory Parady. I had searched earlier, but his grave was not easy to locate. Two kind staff members in the funeral home wrote down the directions for me. Their instructions sent me back to where I had started, near the Mausoleum, near the older hillsides, which felt about right. Some cemetery stories make you circle back before they let themselves be found. When I finally reached the Columbine section, Emory Parady's grave was modest. A simple stone, a small American flag, no grand monument, but the inscription stopped me. Father, Emory Parady, 1844 to 1924. Member Company H, 16th New York Cavalry. And then the line that changes the whole story. One of the 26 enlisted men who captured John Wilkes Booth, assassin of President Abraham Lincoln. There it was, the Lincoln connection carved directly into stone. This grave in Portland, tied to one of the most studied moments in American history. The inscription on this stone preserves this remarkable chapter, and he lies in rest on the hillside and returns to quiet. But it is moving to find him here, in Lincoln Memorial Park, on a hill where Lincoln's memory seems to appear in more than one form. From Emory Parady's grave, I returned to the Mausoleum. The building had become the center of this day, without me realizing it. Inside, the corridors stretched away in long, quiet lines. Names covered the walls. Light moved through stained glass. Footsteps softened. Near the front, a fountain rises beneath a skylight, with a classical figure standing at its center. From there, I began climbing up the stairs. The staff had told me that there was a stained glass image of Abraham Lincoln somewhere inside this mausoleum. At first, I could not find it. The building felt like a maze. Stairs climbed, corridors turned, one quiet corner opened into another. After a while, I almost gave up. Then, on the fourth floor, I found him. The former president, rendered in stained glass. Large, solemn, and glowing in the soft interior light. As the search concludes, finding that window felt like the final piece of the day. The cemetery's name, Emory Parady's inscription, the stories shared by the staff, and now Lincoln himself, in color and light. It did not answer every historical question, but it showed how deeply this cemetery has chosen to carry Lincoln's memory. Sometimes history is found in records, sometimes it's found in what a place preserves, and sometimes, after a long walk, it appears in a window. Before leaving Mount Scott, I crossed the road to Willamette National Cemetery. The difference was immediate. Lincoln Memorial Park was winding, varied, and layered. Willamette was open, orderly, and full of motion. Cars moved slowly through the roads. Visitors arrived for Memorial Day weekend. Across the hillsides, small American flags marked grave after grave after grave. There were no upright monuments in the same way. No family obelisks. No mausoleum corridors. Just rows of flat markers repeating across green slopes with solemn rhythm. It was beautiful and humbling. I was careful with the camera here. This was not just scenery, it was an active place of mourning. Some people stood quietly, some walked slowly between markers, some carried flowers, some simply looked over the flags, taking in the scale of all those lives, all that service, and all that grief. I had not planned this episode around Memorial Day, but the timing changed the ending. Willamette National Cemetery gathers one kind of memory with extraordinary focus: service and loss. The two cemeteries sit across the road from each other, but they speak in different voices. Together, they make Mount Scott feel like a place where Portland comes to remember in many forms. Lincoln Memorial Park is not easy to summarize. That may be what makes it worth walking. It began as Mount Scott Park Cemetery and later became Lincoln Memorial Park. It holds hillside graves and marble corridors. And across the road, Willamette National Cemetery reminds us that remembrance can be both personal and collective. This place is not one story, it is many. A hill of many memories. Thank you for walking with me. If this story found a place with you, I hope that you'll subscribe to Stories in Stone. There are many more quiet places waiting to be heard.